Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Hello and welcome to Homeschool Together. Thanks so much for joining us. This is our second annual board game review Christmas megathon with the world-renowned Instagram super famous Danielle Dabbs of Board Game Babies. Danielle, welcome back as the annual gift guide game expert, game schooling expert.
That's right. Yeah, let's talk about it. Wait, let me get my Amazon list out here.
Yes, everybody needs to open up Amazon right now on your phone because we know everybody's listening on their phones.
No. They'll all be in the show notes, but I'm taking notes, Danielle. I'm just saying.
No. What they need to do is first up, open up Instagram, follow Board Game Babies,
number one.
Just hit the like, subscribe, follow. You get the awesome, what is it? Every few days you put out a nice review? Big stack of tower.
It's a little slower lately, like once a week now.
Oh,
You just put out a really great one all about stocking stuff for games, though. So
I'm looking at the tower right now. It looks awesome.
Do a lot of guides too. Like I like to group my reviews by like subject so that you can just pull up on the guide tab and find like these are good games for 2-year-olds or these are good games for stockings or whatever like that.
Well,
yes.
Before we use her for her knowledge, Danielle, would you like to give us like a rundown of what Board Game Babies is and why you are returning to Homeschool Together?
Yes. So mostly it's just on Instagram. I do have a webpage, but it's a little bit like neglected. I mostly like chat and post everything on Instagram, but I do try to post reviews. I do kind of like stacks of games by, like I said, topic or by age, or did a lot of game schooling stuff, especially in the summer when people were not necessarily schooling. I think we talked a little bit then too, or you at least mentioned on one of the podcasts about kind of edu-parenting, because that's what we do. I do not have any homeschool kids anymore. I did send my preschooler to preschool this year, but my 2-year-old is really wanting to like learn all this stuff. So I'm like, I guess I'm kind of homeschooling him again, but he's not quite at the game level. But yeah, so I like to share reviews just as a resource for people. And then I also try to donate games to kids at low-income schools. I work with a nonprofit that gives school supplies to teachers at low-income schools. And so giving games is something I'm passionate about for them teachers to use in the classroom. And then to kids in foster care, and anything that is purchased through my Amazon links, I donate that money. I use that money to donate games to those, either those two organizations or like teachers I know that are in really low-income school situations and don't have a lot of resources or PTOs or things to support them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we'll make sure to put all the links, and if you can send those we'll make sure to put those in for everybody, and so they can, when they make their purchases, they can go through your Amazon store to do that.
But I'm back because you guys are so fun.
Well, you're a friend of the show. We are now. It's funny when we first talked, we were not, but now we are both part of the Game School Co-op. So for all of you out there who love games and love using games for education, there is a whole group of cool people just like us. I'm gonna say we're in the cool kids group. Yeah, and so check out the Game School Co-op. That will also be in the show notes. So Absolutely. Should we just start it off? I can't wait to see what you have for us today, Danielle.
So what did you bring? Tell the people what they're going to hear, and then we can start at the ground level.
I'm going to describe them all. But when you click on the links, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. But I picked out a game so we start our kids really young. So I picked out games starting for kids that are like at age 2.5, 3. Our youngest is approaching 2.5 here. And I've been playing with our older ones since about that age. And then, so I have a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, and an 8-year-old. I think that's right. somewhere in there. That's about right.
I don't,
So I
they're your children, Danielle.
oh my gosh, I can't even remember. I never know their names or their ages. There's too many. Not too many, but there's plenty. So I picked out a game kind of like for each age that I think is just a really good game. Now they might be good for other ages, and I'll try to like mention that. Some of them are great for, that age to adults, but a game that like really has struck our kids at those particular ages. And then I went a little bit above their ages because I have one that's about to turn 9, and then I picked one that was like a 10+ game. So I can share each of those by age if that's kind of helpful to
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah, let's start off the young ones.
chronologically, I guess.
Yeah.
So the first game I picked is one that is, I would say like a 2.5-year-old, maybe around that age could start playing with it. It's called Haba. It's called Building Site, but it's by Haba, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. Probably a lot of your listeners.
They have such great games for the littles. Well, and family games too, but especially for the younger age, really great games.
But preschool, I feel like they're heads and shoulders above like the majority of preschool games out there. Just the components are such high quality. Like we've had games that we've had for 5, 6, 7 years that look like they're brand new, even though we play them constantly because they just hold up so well. So Building Site is really cute. It's a memory game, but it includes like an actual toy dump truck. And so this is why my 2-year-old is like obsessed with this game. And then it has little wooden pieces that you're putting together to build the house. So I'm not gonna lie, we mostly don't play the game yet at a little less than 2.5 years old. He's at that stage where we still play with the pieces. And I think that is a perfectly acceptable and wonderful way to introduce games to young kids. I think a lot of people think they don't want to start till they're going to follow the rules and they're going to sit there for, 15 minutes and play, but like, you'll never play with a 2-year-old if that's what you're expecting. But having him, like, this game really is like one of those where you play with the pieces. So even if they're not playing where they're using the memory component where they're trying to like find the right pieces, there's 4 different pieces of the house that you have to put together, and you have to put them in the right order to build the house from like the foundation to the roof. And then there's like a little bush in the garden, but you use the truck to drive the pieces around. So right now he's just at really like driving the pieces from the spot to the building spot. And then he's starting to like match the tokens with the pieces, but he's not quite at the memory stage. But that's why I really like this game, because I think it starts really like you can put it in front of a 2-year-old and they're going to play with it. They may not be following the rules or like going through the whole game exactly, but they'll be able to engage with it, which is really fun. He's always like, I want truck game, because he's obsessed. And he makes the beep, beep, beep noises when he drives it around. But it's also really good for a 3-year-old too, because you're starting to incorporate the, memory component, the taking turns. So that one I feel like has room to grow, and you can start it out really young. It's kind of along that same vein of like My First Orchard, just really high quality components, and like they can play with the pieces before they play the game, and they're not going to ruin the game or anything. So that one has been a huge hit for us lately, and one of the ones my 2-year-old constantly takes out, even though, like I said, he's not exactly playing it.
Yeah, right. Reminds me of I'm looking at the pictures of it right now. It reminds me that you're right, the Orchard game, but also like Nibble Munch Crunch and things of that nature.
Yes. Yeah, they do some great early games. And I'm not sure what it is about big vehicles, but our 2-year-old also, we have a book called Little Excavator that our 2-year-old is like obsessed with this book. We have to read it, I don't know, several times a day. So we have it memorized at this point. So that's a great first pick.
Well, it's fun to drive a little. What other game do you get to drive little pieces around? I guess. Well, Monza, I guess, and Kanban if you want to play that with your, 2, 3-year-olds or Downforce. Anyway, so my game for 4-year-olds is also Haba, not to be repetitive, but this game we do have quite a bit of Haba, but this game was new to me, and I honestly held off purchasing it for a while because I just wasn't sure that I was going to be sold on it. It's called Color It, and it's basically a kid's first roll and write game. So this is I have a 5-year-old. She just turned 5 though. And as a 4-year-old, this has been her favorite game. You have like a bunch of coloring sheets and a couple of dice, and you roll the dice, and there's number dice and color dice. And so there's this one has 2 levels of difficulty, which is nice so that like a young 4 could play. But then even our 8-year-old loves playing this game because they just love to color. And so you're choosing a combination of the dice that you roll to color in one of the matching number squares, so kind of like a color by number on your sheet. And then whoever fills their sheet first wins. It's not like a super competitive game though. We all tend to like be right, you know, right in the end there. And so everybody always just finishes their sheet, which I think makes it a little bit more fun. But I don't know what it is, but they are obsessed with this game. Like my 5-year-old plays it every single day. I swear, like we're going to run out of pages soon. But that was my one like downside of this game was I was worried about running out of the pieces of it, but you can laminate it or make copies of it. And they do have like printable pages on Hava's website too. So even different themes you can print up and use those, but it's super simple, but we love it. Like it's just, and I guess too, I'm not like a huge coloring person. Like I know some people love to color and like do like adult coloring. And I think that's awesome. For me, I get kind of like bored or distracted easily. And playing it as coloring as a game has helped me like really engage in coloring with them more. And I think too, it's engaged like my child who doesn't love to color because he is a gamer and he's a little bit older, but he is just working on that, you know, fine motor skill and the coloring that he, you know, every preschooler needs to be coloring in some
I was wondering if you had seen any improvements on like the, you know, the dexterity or the pencil work or fine coloring skills. Have you seen improvements playing this game? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Like she started out kind of just scribbling all over it. I mean, she could color in lines, but she was just being scribbly. And now you can see like she's really being more attentive and like her pictures look so like really nice because they come out really nice and colorful. And so they've been hanging them on the wall like they're like masterpieces of art after they're done. But they do look really cute. So that one we just think is just a fun like way to learn how to do roll and writes too, because as they get older there's lots of fun roll and writes to play.
It's a good way to engage in colors too, and you know, teaching that and teaching how to read pips on a die, which is a nice early skill as
and
well.
It only goes up to 3, I think. Oh no, wait, maybe it is. Now I'm forgetting. I play this so much you would think I would have it memorized, but but it does help with that. Yeah, the pip recognition. And I do like so it is hard to play with a 2-year-old around sometimes, but this one is one that's nice because he can just color on a paper with us and thinks he's playing, and he can roll the dice for us. And he always is like telling me what color is on the die. So it's a good one if you're trying to play with like a little bit older kid and you have a toddler toddling around because they feel like they're engaged. They're not trying to constantly like run off with the cards or like the pieces of the game. Like every other game we try to play with him around. Don't know if you guys experienced that.
No, we have to keep most of our games behind lock and key and at least 5 feet off the ground.
Well, try color it. She might
enjoy that. You know, she might. She actually, you know, our youngest really enjoys using a pencil because she follows, you know, she's sitting next to her sister when they're doing a homeschool and she likes to pretend like she's doing homeschool with her. So it's kind of cute.
Yeah, she's much more into that. But neither of our kids are super big colorers yet. So this might be a good thing to help them get into coloring a bit more. So great pick.
I think we just assume like kids want to color, but not every kid wants to color. And like they do need to practice that for like writing eventually and strengthening those little finger muscles. But so for age 5, this game is brand new. I literally just got it like 2 days ago, but we've played it already a bunch since then. It's called Jump, and it's called Jump 1. So I'm going to assume that they're going to have other variations of this game. It's by Melon Rind Games. Have you guys played any of their games?
You know, I haven't. I mean, I've heard of Clumsy Thief and Clumsy Thief Jr., but I actually have not tried a Melon Rind game yet.
They're great. We love them because they're like very colorful. They're very fun, but this is also very educational. And so we love the Clumsy Thief games, but we have Clumsy Thief Jr. that we got too, and our 5-year-old can play that. But Clumsy Thief in the Candy Shop is a little bit too old. It's like making sums of 20. But this one is like it's a little bit similar to Uno, where except you have your own stack. You have a stack of your cards. The cards are divided by each player, and there's 2 variations you can play. So we have mostly played the turn taking one, which is I think better for younger kids. And then there's a speed variation. So for older kids, they can play faster. But the turn taking one has been really good for like a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old to play together. And I think it's like the perfect range educationally for a 5-year-old. So you have your stack of a third of a fourth of the deck, whatever, however many you're playing with. And the goal is to get rid of your cards first. There's a community card in the middle, and it's kind of like Uno, except you're playing in sequence. So you're either playing the card above the number or below the number. So it helps kind of process where numbers come in order, which is kind of that next step. My daughter can count, she recognizes numbers, but being able to just solidify, I've got 7, what is before and what's after, and thinking about it separately from like the whole sequence of 1 to 10. And so, but you can play as many cards on your turn as your hand allows. So there is some strategy to it, because you want to think about, like, if you have 2 and a 3 and the card is a 4, but you also have a 5, you'd rather play your 3 and 2 so that you can get rid of 2 cards from your hand. So it starts out, it can be very simple, but then it kind of ages up. And like I said, my 8-year-old has really enjoyed playing it. And so that is, I think, literally brand new. They just came out with it and just sent it to us. And we just really love the educational value of the Melon Ryan games, but they're also, like I said, just cute. Like my daughter looked at the game and she's like, I know that this game is from Clumsy Thief in the Candy Shop, because the art is like similar themed and really engaging for kids. So that's a fun new one if you're looking for something like just brand new out there.
Wow, hot off the presses.
Yeah, no, it looks really cool. And then there's like a frog card as well, allows you to skip.
Oh yeah, so the frog card is the wild, basically. Like, so once you play the frog card, you can kind of start from anywhere then. So you're skipping.
No, that's great. It looks like a really cool game. Yeah, like kind of like a Racco meets Uno type of idea.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Kind of like a little bit of Nuts About Mutts. So one of those, a card game that kids are kind of familiar with, but I like the thought process she's using with the sequencing in number order and trying to figure out how to strategize that. So that one I picked for 5-year-olds.
Awesome.
Great.
For 6-year-olds, and this game, people are gonna be like, why is this game for 6-year-olds? This game is for adults, but I think that this is a great game to start at age 6. It's Sorrow of the Seas by Calliope Games. So
I love that one.
Have you played Sorrow of the Seas?
Yes, we used to play it. We used to have a game group at work at lunchtime once a week, and we would play. And we had one guy who was really into it, and he didn't play. He just like announced whenever, and he would go kaiju movement, and he'd scream, and we would all. And he was very into it. It was like, let's get ready to rumble, but it was kaiju. So I think that this one is one that, like, the more fun, the more you put into it, the better it could be. But I'll let you explain.
No, it's so I think a lot of people are familiar with Sura, which is just like a tile laying path connection game. So Sura of the Seas, you can play regular Sura with. So that's one thing I like about it. It's kind of like getting 2 games in one if you don't already have the original Sura. But it adds, like, so the kaiju, the sea monsters, and they move with dice rolls. So you're adding a lot of addition. So I like that, because at 6 years old, I feel like that's what we're constantly kind of working on, is that 2 dice addition. And so lots of practice doing that, but still just like the simplicity and the fun of Suro.
Right. That path connection, I think, is probably great, because you're, for those who haven't played it, you've got ships, and you have tiles that have two moving paths on those tiles, and then as you place another one, your ship moves forward along that line. So you're trying to keep yourself on the board. You want to keep yourself from running off the board. And in this one, then you also have sea monsters who are making that more fun. But I think that, like, that forethought about where am I going to end up with my path is also it's a great part of Suro, just the base game.
Yes.
And then the monsters makes a great, I mean, those can pop up in some really fun places.
Yeah, so it adds a little more complication, but I also like that it adds like that game schooling element. And we'll kind of adapt it depending, like with our 6-year-old, a lot of times too, we'll, move on. I think you move on 6, 7, and 8. You move the kaiju, but we will sometimes just say, okay, we're just going to move on 7s, like if we want to play a little bit easier or something. So there's a lot of flexibility in it, because I think sometimes it can get a little bit like bogged down in rolling dice, but it's easily adaptable if you want to play with younger kids. but I like games that make them do a lot of math during the game, where it's not just adding up the score, but they don't feel like they're, doing a lot of math. It's fun. So for age 7, again, this is another one where I would say this is also it could be an adult only game. Like, you guys could play this at your lunch group at work, because it spans so many ages. Have you guys played any of the Grandpa Beck's games?
I haven't. I've heard great things about Skull King and Birds and Bees and things, but I haven't played any of them myself.
Yes, they're great. So the thing I like is that they work well for like young ages, but literally they write on the box, like, age 4 or age 5 to 99. And it's totally true. Like, they're very much family games. Like, you can play them across generations, and a lot of them play like a little bit higher player counts too. So the one I picked for age 7 is the Bears and the Bees. And it's just a really beautiful, so it's, again, you're laying tiles, but in this one, you're not making a path like you are in Suro. You're matching colors and sides of you have I think they're hexagons, I want to say. You're matching your hexagon shapes to match the different flower and color combinations. So it's not like as explicitly educational, but it does require some pattern matching, and it's just a very pretty game. It requires some strategy, because you'll play some cards that will make, your opponent pick up tiles, so that you're trying to run out of tiles again. You're trying to play your hand to be the first one to have no tiles left. And it's just a beautiful, fun game. Our 5-year-old can play it, but I think like the sweet spot is starting around like 7 years old and then going to adults.
How did the bee? I see the pictures of the hex tiles. How did the bees come into play with it?
They're just, so there's color tiles, and those are kind of standard play. And then the bees, some of them require, I think they make the other opponents pick a card.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay.
they're kind of like power cards.
Okay, and so you're just drawing tiles, or like, is it like
So
Carcassonne?
you are trying to not draw tiles. You're
Okay.
trying to just start with your hand, but you will be forced to draw tiles like by other players. But you're also trying to get rid of what you have and do it like in a way that so if you can match like 3 sides of your tile when you place it, you can play another tile.
I see. Okay.
So you're really looking at the patterns and seeing like, okay, how can I fit this? And then if you play one, like on my next turn, if I put this here, will I be able to play another one in that space? So it's not too complicated, but it does like require some strategic thinking. And my daughter is very into art, and she loves it because it's just very pretty and fun to match them together. So that is one of the Grandpa Beck's games we like. And then also Gnoming Around, I think, is really good for that.
Yeah, like the once you have the whole full board down, it does look very like stunning, like the color wise.
Really pretty. Yeah.
Wow,
and it's not all of them are really great for travel, like, because they're just most like this one, even though they're tiles, they're card weight. So it's not like a super heavy game. You could take, like, we say these games are like, they're literally made to like take to grandma and grandpa's house. Because they like anyone can pretty much pick them up in a few minutes of explanation, and kids to adults like playing them together. So we've been playing those a lot with like family members, and we'll probably pull a bunch of them out at Christmas.
I love those multi-generational games, that they're not just made for kids, that they engage everybody. We love to choose those kind too. And this game sounds like it's really great for kind of that spatial awareness, right? They're surveying the field and trying to figure out what they could play and where, and lots of complex, strategic thinking in that. So I really think that's a good skill, just kind of that taking the lay of the land and figuring out where to play.
Yeah, and when I say something's not educational, usually I'm meaning just like overtly education. Like it's not like adding the dice, or there is always stuff. I think we've talked about this before, to learn from games. There's from the youngest child learning, taking turns and following rules, to just like the strategy, the planning ahead. All of those things are important. All those like, soft skills too, and versus just like learning your addition facts through games, which is fun way to learn addition facts is through games, but there's all sorts of stuff to learn. So then for age 8, I picked Dragon Realm. Have you guys played that one? Have you played Dragonwood?
Yes, we have Dragonwood and love it. We
Okay.
just completed a game break unit study on Dragonwood.
Oh.
It's a favorite of ours, but yeah, we have not played Dragon Realm yet. So what's the difference for those who know Dragonwood like us but don't know Dragon
Just
Realm?
like just notched up like a level. So there are a lot of similarities in the mechanics. Like you're still collecting the sets and the run, you can do the color sets or the number sets or the runs, but it's more base breaking. So you have locations that you're trying to inhabit yourself. Like you're trying to have the most of your nights on those locations so that you earn that location. So someone else might be, turning in the runs and sets to claim a spot on the same location, but you want to have more. And then it also adds in there's like goblins and they're trying to take those spaces as well. So it just adds like that base breaking element. So it's not like it has all those great mechanics of and the educational value of Dragonwood, where you're figuring out the runs and sets and you're doing all the dice because you're rolling still with the 6 dice. So you're doing all that adding with the dice, but the added component of like figuring out where to play and which way you're going to attack to claim the locations, I think makes it just a little bit more complicated, because our son has been playing that. I mean, I say 8 because I don't want to like stretch. He's 6 and he loves Dragon Realm, but he's played Dragonwood for a while. So it's really familiar to him. So I just think 8 is kind of a little bit more, probably realistic for the standard. But I think a 6-year-old plays it. It's just, I would say 6 is like where I would put Dragonwood.
On the locations in the game, is that kind of like a resource management thing? I see like at the bottom of the cards, there's kind of like characters and maybe like little meeples that come with it, or? So
your meeples are what you're using to claim those spots.
Okay.
So you're just claiming those spots as if you were trying to claim the cards.
I see. Okay.
In Dragonwood. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. But then like there's like, so if you fail, you can send your guy to like the training academy, and then they can come back and like help you in another turn instead of it just being like you get nothing because you failed. So there's just a couple more things that make it a little bit harder than Dragonwood. I mean, we have both of them, but I would say that now we play Dragon Realm more than Dragonwood, because I don't know if it's I don't know if he just likes claiming those locations because they look really cool.
Yeah, the artwork's beautiful on them.
Yeah, they look really cool. And yeah, our 6-year-old grabs for that one more than Dragonwood now. But again, I chose it for 8 because I think, we have someone who has a lot of experience playing Dragonwood would be fine. But if you're just like new to those mechanics, 8 is probably a little bit more realistic.
That's a good pick. I like it.
Yeah, I love Dragonwood. I've been eyeing Dragon Realm for a while, but our daughter's just not quite to the level to play Dragonwood yet. So I'm like, got to get her over that first hump to go to the second. But I think that sounds really neat.
But that's why it's good. You start with Dragonwood and then you can go up to Dragon Realm later. So then for age 9, and this one I picked because my 8-year-old is about to turn 9, and this was her pick actually when we went to Origins. She got to pick one game when we kind of walked around and demoed some stuff. And she picked to bring home Juicy Fruits, which is a new game from Capstone. And I think it's their first family weight game. So they do like Pipeline and lots of, what's the other one? Curious Cargo, like things that are like very brain burners, like not for kids. But Juicy Fruits is an awesome, like, family weight where a 9-year-old could play it, but up to like my husband and I pull it out regularly to play, just the two of us, like when we just want a quick game. And it has a lot of ability to scale. So you have a little island and you have a bunch of little fruit baskets, which are just tiles on your island. And you're sliding your baskets around like those. Do you know those little puzzles you used to do where you had like one open space?
Oh yeah, man, those really get you.
Little pieces around to move them in different directions. So it's not quite that contained. You have more than one space open, but depending on how you move your tiles around, you're limiting how your other tiles can move. and you're trying to move your tiles to collect these little adorable pieces of chunky fruit. And then you're turning that fruit in to send like to fulfill orders, basically. Like there's little boats connected to your island that want a certain amount of, 2 oranges and 3 plums or whatever. And so you're trying to collect that by moving your baskets around your board and then shipping off your boats. So at base level, you can just play with that. Like I would say even our 6-year-old can play that piece of it, like just collecting the fruit and then shipping off the boats. But then you also have like a shared board that has little like ice cream carts that let you like make ice cream cones when you slide it on your board. So you are buying buildings and little additions to put onto your island that you can then also slide around to either get more resources or to do more things with your resources or just like to get points. So that adds like another kind of level of complication where I'd say like that's where like our almost 9-year-old can pretty much play that. And then we have not even tried it yet, but on the back of the board, there's like a juice factory where you can do even more stuff. But we just got that like a couple weeks ago at whatever Origins was, like a month ago, I guess. So I think it's really fun. I love moving the fruit around. It's like the perfect like time amount, but it's very strategic. It's introducing a lot more of that strategy to kids who are kind of on the brink of strategy games. Yeah. And just the fruit is the cutest thing in the world. The theme is so like bright and colorful and beachy, and that always makes me happy going into winter. So but I do think the mechanic of moving those tiles around is so unique. And I think especially for like our generation, we've played a lot of those little like puzzle games. So putting it into like a bigger board game and getting to constantly collect stuff just scratches that really fun itch of those. But I think it's a great game for kids and families to play together. And so that's why I picked it for my 9-year-old, because she's almost 9 and that was her pick. And she picked a winner. She really did. She looked at a couple games and that was the one that she came out loving. And that, I think it was a really good choice.
That looks like a good pick.
That looks really cool. I always remember those like as being one of those things in your stocking, the little slider things, they were like, and they were really cheap. And so you'd slide them and they'd get stuck because they kind of go like cattywampus. And then eventually you just break it and put it together the right way because you get frustrated. Or maybe that was just me.
Sure.
Don't break this game. No, you can't break it. Just come off. You won't have to like disassemble it to make it work. But I do love the movie. Like I just think it's a really fun mechanic that I can't think of anything else we have that's like that, especially like that kids can play, like
right.
We have a lot of great strategy games and a lot of fun mechanics in different games that my husband and I can play, but there's not as many that are, great for kids. And like I said, this one you can kind of even scale down even lower, but I think a 9-year-old could play like the actual game in the rule book versus like modifying it for young, but I'm always trying to like modify it for younger kids, like with everything we're doing. But this one legitimately for 9, I would say. And it's like, so our oldest, she's very smart, but she also has ADHD. So like length is really important. So even as we get into like bigger games, having games that have more of those adult strategies but don't take as much time is like key, because we only have like so much attention span. And so that's what I really like about this one too. It moves pretty quickly and you're constantly doing something that's sort of physical also, so it works really well for her particularly.
It's amazing. That looks really good.
Yeah, that sounds like really neat. I love thinking through those kind of like there's like a logic puzzle within the game, which is really cool.
Yes. And so for my last pick, I'll preface this by saying I do not have a 10-plus-year-old. So I have not played this a lot with ages 10 or older, but I have played it with our 11-year-old cousin and he picked it up really quickly. So I feel confident in saying that a 10-plus-year-old could play this, especially if they are like a gamer, like if they're familiar with games. But my pick for that is Funfair by Good Games Publishing. Have you guys played Unfair or Funfair?
No, we haven't.
So Unfair is one of my favorite games. It's a theme park building game. So kind of, again, theme always gets me back to like Roller Coaster Tycoon days.
Oh, Roller Coaster Tycoon.
So building a theme park is like very high on my list. And I just thought of another game I should have talked. I'm going to mention it at the end because I didn't think about it, but now I want to talk about it.
It's all right. It's your show, Danielle.
Yeah.
We're here for you.
Turn me off. Just cut me off when you need to. So Funfair. So Unfair is a like a very underrated but very fun like theme park tableau building game. So you're taking cards and you're using them to build attractions and then build like improvements on your attraction. So you're adding like comfortable seating and air conditioning and things to stuff. And there's you're trying to build the best theme park. But in Unfair, there is a lot of take that. Like you pretty much can't play the game without something destroying something in your park or your opponent's destroying something in your park.
Got it.
We try to play with world peace when my husband and I play just to preserve our marriage. But
try to play with world peace.
Oh, I like that. I like that because Ariel's like, we have games where I'm not allowed to do things.
Yeah,
That's
like in Ticket to Ride, he's not allowed to claim a route that's not on one of his tickets.
Just to screw you over, yeah.
Right, exactly. Yes, that's the very reason.
Don't play Unfair, but Funfair is the like family version of that. So they took out all of the take that. They kept all of the like fun aspect of building your theme park and like meeting. You have like little blueprint cards, so you're trying to make certain goals for your theme park. They kept all of that, took out all the meanness to each other, the meanness of the game against you, and they made it a little bit shorter and a little less complicated. Like they took out one set of like cards that can help you. And so I think it is got a lot of the things that I love about Unfair, but is way more accessible to this like 10-ish age. So it's a really great family game because again, it's one of those ones where like adults really want to play. It scratches a lot of that strategy itch. It is super fun theme, but shortening it a little bit and just taking away a few complications make it a great game for kids to play. And I feel like at this age, I was talking to my husband, at this age, like when you get into the 10 plus, unless you're going like hardcore, a game schooling game, like a Genius game, the educational value is hard. It's harder to like find things that are working on like calculus,
right.
Like,
I mean, you could get like psychosis or one of those, right?
Yeah, I'm saying you gotta
there's always
go
so many of them.
Straight for the like educational games at that point. There's not as much of that hidden educational value. But I think too, this one, there's like some money management to it because you have to pay, coins to build your cards and to build on your accessories to your attractions. And then again, just like the stuff we've been talking about, kind of maximizing your points, strategizing, all those things that are important things if you want your kids to learn the mechanics to play games as the adult games that we're playing, the higher level strategy, more complex games. Like these are all great things that are introducing a lot of those mechanics and components and strategies that they'll then take when they play more complex games.
Absolutely.
So
sounds great.
Those are my by age. I want to throw in 2 games though, because one I forgot because I just thought of it. I would say it's like the 4-year-old range. We just got it and I'm obsessed with it, but also because of theme. This is why I thought of it. It's a Small World game from Funko.
Oh, I just saw that. I haven't.
I put up, so I shared it in my stories. I haven't shared it on. I haven't done a review though. It's a like look and find game. So you have your little boats and you set up like the rooms of Small World and the boats are going through the rooms. And when you stop in a room, you have cards that have like one individual character or animal or something that's in one of the rooms, and you're trying to match those cards to the room. So we are really big on theme. We are super crazy Disney fans, and my kids are loving that one. Like,
does it come with a creepy song that you can't get out of your head?
It does not. But we are those people who play like the songs that go with games. Like we're playing dinosaur games, there's Jurassic Park in the background.
Matt totally does that.
When we have some gaming friends when they come over, I'm always setting the theme and the mood and the music, ambient, working music for playing like Quacks of Quedlinburg and what was the one game we were playing, like wasn't it Harry Potter or something like that?
Well, every game we play, you're always like finding
you can play with Harry Potter, right?
Potion Explosion.
That's right. That's what you did.
Yeah, Potion Explosion.
That's when you played Harry Potter.
And then Villainous. No. What was the monsters one that we played?
Oh, Horrified.
Horrified. I had some good movie. Yeah.
Good movie. It was like we were like, is this the score from Dracula? And you're like,
you can make Spotify playlists to go with all your games, so you can share them.
Oh, yeah.
Let's add one more thing to your to-do.
Thanks, Danielle.
And then I want to see some karaoke of them on YouTube. No, just kidding.
No, we'll be doing it on the Instagram Reels. I'll be
Yes.
Oh,
singing
no,
and dancing.
let's not.
Oh.
Anyway, I just thought of that one and I did not put it on my list because we just got it too, but it's just super cute. Anybody who's a Disney fan with little kids.
Well, I love look and find stuff too, because, you know, at that age, they love our 2.5-year-old is just starting. And I remember I kind of went to 4.5, 5 with our older daughter, just like heavy into look and finds.
Yeah.
Like that was all they want to do in the car, look and finds. And so I think games like this, that's perfectly aged.
And you can play cooperatively too. So it's easier to play with the younger kid. I've not tried it with our 2.5-year-old. I don't think he could do it yet, but like I think a 3-year-old with help could play cooperatively. And the only other game I want to mention was kind of like one of those fun family games for everyone. Like there is no age to this one. I mean, well, I guess I would say you probably have to be like 5-ish to play because it gets a little bit physical sometimes. Have you guys played Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza?
So I have heard a whole lot about it, but I have not played it.
It's just a speed slapping game, but it's hilarious. Like you look at this game and you're like, why do people like this game? You have cards that have tacos, cats, goats, cheese, pizzas on them, and then there's 3 like groundhog, gorilla, and narwhal, I think, are like the special cards. And you're literally just going around saying, turning a card face up into the middle section. You're trying to get rid of your stack of cards. It's another one of those. You're turning it into the middle and saying taco, and the next person says cat, the next person says goat, the next person says cheese, the next person says pizza. Like you're just repeating the phrase over and over again. But if you turn over a card and you say the same word, so if you turn over cheese while you're saying cheese, everybody has to slap the pile. And the last person's hand on the pile gets the pile. So like this is like take your rings off, like violent game.
Elbow grandma out of the way.
It is so funny. And so like our kids hysterically are laughing the entire time we play this game. And they have a Christmas version, which is why I was thinking of it. I think it's called Santa Elf Cookie. Wait, Santa Cookie Elf Snowman, I think. Did I get that right? And so it's the exact same game, but they've replaced all the cards with Christmassy themed cards. It's super cute.
That is awesome.
So that I think is just a fun, like if you don't like educational strategy type games and you literally just want something that reminds you of your slapjack days, that one is a good one.
All right. Okay. That works.
Hey, something for everybody.
We'll have a link to we'll have a link of that one in the show notes because I keep searching for it and I get a lot of taco pictures and now my mouth is watering.
So I'm gonna hit you up because I know you just did the stack on Instagram. If there was one game that you would say would be really great for a stocking stuffer, what's your stocking stuffer pick?
Age? What? I don't know. It's so variable by age.
Wait, we've been talking about kids a lot. There's a lot of parents listening to this. What do you get for the spouse? What do you get for that spouse?
I think Star Realms is a really good one for. Have you guys played Star Realms?
Oh, I love Star Realms.
I'm not allowed. That's the one game I'm not allowed to play with Ariel because she's played it so many times on her phone. She kills me.
You say not allowed. I say you have to be comfortable losing. I mean, I think it's a different definition.
Yeah, I think Star Realms is like the one, fits in your pocket, like easily put in a stocking. Any adult would like getting that one.
I think it's great. It's got so many different things going on. It's a standard deck builder for those who haven't heard of it. Yeah. And it's got a really great free app. So if you are interested in it, you can check that out. We'll put a link in the show notes. Because the app will tell you if it's your type of game or not. If as a space nerd, it is my type of game. But I played way too much of it.
And stuff too, right? We only have one of the other decks.
Yeah, I only have the base deck. We've only played it a couple of times at home because I had played the app so many times that Matt did not stand a chance. No, so you know what this means? This is like you had played Ticket to Ride on the app so many times that we couldn't play the US map of Ticket to Ride. So we had to buy the 1910 expansion so that we can now play. So I think what this means is that I need another Star Realms deck for Christmas so that we can then play.
Stocking, mom's stocking never has anything.
That's right. Mom's stocking is always empty and filled with leftover Halloween candy.
Isn't it that's the SNL skit, right? That was like mom's Christmas was.
Oh, I love that. That was
Yes.
the best.
We'll put that in the we'll put that in the show notes.
When we were growing up, our stocking was only candy, but I'm like, well, I still have Halloween candy left over, like by Christmas. So we try to put something else in there but putting the used Halloween candy in, that's next level brilliant.
Yeah, we got some pumpkins and candy corn in there.
Yeah,
I know I threw away the Easter candy.
Reese's.
I emptied out the Easter candy when we got the buckets down for Halloween. I was like, good God.
Right. Yeah. Well, it was funny because you were like, oh, we have so much candy left over. And I was like, that's cool. That's fine. Pick out everything that's not Halloween themed and put it in the Christmas bag. It'll be good. It's fine.
Yes.
It's only 2 months.
So put a game in there instead. You taking notes, Matt?
Yes, I am. I have an email thread with myself called Xmas, and I periodically update it.
I have a Google Drive spreadsheet that says Xmas for Ariel's eyes only, lest anyone else try to look at it. I have to catalog what I get for people every year because I can't remember after. You know how it is shopping for 4 kiddos.
I think games in a stocking are a great thing because there are so many like little small box games and I feel like if you are a family that likes to like personalize, pick something that fits somebody as like not that you don't do it with regular games, but I feel like or regular presents. I feel like a lot of the presents our kids get they asked for or they're like clothes or stuff they need. And the stocking is like a fun place to kind of play around with like, I saw this and I thought of you that you would like this little game, or you should get one of those puzzles to put in the stockings. The little slider puzzles.
Yeah, the slider puzzle.
Oh yeah. I'll get one for you.
Oh, sure.
We have the problem that I get so much stuff for the stocking and I keep them all in different grocery bags with the names on them so that I can know on the night, and my problem is that I have too much stuff, so then like stuff's coming out of the stocking, so then I'm like last minute wrapping stuff that wouldn't fit.
Oh, so you're better than I am. I'm always like, what will fit in this stocking? Like I'm like trying to shove like full size board games in there. Like I totally, we're always running out trying to get something else to put in. I'm like, I always forget them. So the small box games, that's your answer.
I think that's great.
But some other people might.
Well, this was awesome. Thank you. You've given us lots of food for thought with games, as we have several children in that age range. Hopefully this was helpful to all the listeners out there who are thinking about games for Christmas and wanting to know what's new and what's cool. And Danielle, you have your finger on the pulse.
Yes.
I don't know if I've ever been described as cool, but I'll take it.
I'm going with nerdy cool. I think we've earned that. Yeah.
Well, we're just riding the wave of nerd culture. This is
that's right.
Yeah, right there.
Nerds will inherit the earth. It happened.
I mean, if that doesn't describe.
Yep. I remember being a kid and people teasing me for being a nerd. And I remember my parents said, just tell them someday nerds will rule the world. And that was really not a very good comeback when you're being bullied, but it really did come true.
It did come true.
Nerds do rule the world.
I do now rule the world.
Not me, but my people.
I think that the general world is realizing the value of board games more. It is not just like as niche nerd culture as it used to be. Like there's so many different themes now and so many different things that are accessible to everybody. Like it literally did used to just be like war and like
Monopoly
or something.
Trouble.
Like, yes, and now there's something for everyone now. So you don't have to be like a full out nerd to love board games.
Yeah, it's sort of like the back to the earth guys who want to go out and get a farm and 10 acres and move out of the city type of thing. But now it's like, I want to get off my phone and TV and I want to play board games now.
You want to connect with the people.
Yeah, you want to connect. You want to talk.
Yeah, well, it's great. I mean, that's one of the things that we love about board games. And it was funny, we're preparing for the holidays and preparing to have family, coming and seeing people. And it's like, oh, that's going to be stressful or whatever. It's like, oh, no, it's cool. We'll just pull out a board game. Because it's the great, like, not equalizer is the wrong word, but it's a great way to have a good time without having to have a big plan. You don't have to entertain anybody. You got a board game.
Well, it builds in shared experiences because there's always something that you're going to like, a joke that'll happen or something funny or someone, something will happen that'll give you that shared memory around the board games. You don't have to do any planning. You don't have to do elaborate stuff. You just pull it out.
That's right. We just picked up Herd Mentality for my parents for Christmas because we're going to have my grandmother over, and it's just like easy. And I guess for folks who haven't heard of Herd Mentality, it's like basically a board game version of kind of like Family Feud, sort of like what is the most popular answer?
Yes, we played that one live with Reading Ordinary Things.
Yes, I saw that. And I was like, I got to buy this game because this will be perfect. Any of those games where you have to, make guesses. I feel like those are really good when you play with folks. You don't need to judge skill level.
Yeah.
Anyone
I
can
went
play.
into that game saying like, I'm terrible at these games, but that one you did not need to. Like, I'm terrible at like code names, like coming up with clues and stuff like that. I did not think on the fly like that. It just makes me feel crazy. But I went in Herd Mentality thinking it was going to be like that and thinking I was going to lose, and I won. So anyone can do it if I can do it. Just One is also like that. Have you guys played Just One?
Yes, we got them Just One last year for Christmas. So I was like, okay, cool.
Perfect.
Now we can play the two together. Just One is you're trying to be unique with your clues, and in Herd Mentality, you're trying to guess the answer that's most popular. It's like, okay, cool. So we can really mess with our brains.
What mood they're in? Are they in? Do they want to get along, or do they want to be against? Be independent.
Oh, perfect.
This was awesome. Thank you so much, Danielle. I hope this gave everybody lots of good ideas for Christmas and Hanukkah and all their board game giving opportunities.
Yep.
I know I'm all like Christmas focused, but they're good for any holiday.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Until the third annual gift guide.
Till next year.
I'm going to get more games.
I trust that you will. Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time.
Happy homeschooling!